Testing, testing. Okay, let's review the meetings from December 6th, 2022. Oh, roll call?
Weiss?
Oh,
Yes. McDaniel?
Yes.
Swartz?
Yes.
And Levy.
yep. Okay. Okay, so, not used to the microphone. So we'll be on number 2 then, approval of the regular meeting minutes from December 6th, 2022. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments, motions?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second. McDaniel?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Swartz?
Yes.
And Levy.
Yep. Okay. All righty, so public participation. Is there anyone here from the audience that would like to address planning and zoning about something not on the agenda? Perfect. Okay, we'll move along then. So we are going to start a public hearing. We're on the number 4. Tonight is the Planning and Zoning Commission will hear an application from James and Sharon Morgan at 921 North Sligo for a conditional use permit to allow a carport to be built attached to the front of their residence. If the Planning and Zoning Commission so chooses to follow the recommendation, blah, 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 we'll talk about that afterwards. I guess I don't have to read the whole thing. So this is going to be my first time opening a public hearing since I think we kind of went over the rules and sort of switched them. So is this something that the applicant goes first, or would you all prefer that we have staff planning?
I guess I would, normally the staff makes the presentation
Okay.
and then you open the public hearing.
That sounds
That
great.
Typical process.
Okay.
I'll make the presentation. If you have questions for me, great, or not, and then open the public hearing. There's only the applicants here.
Okay.
Unless other public shows up.
Okay.
Take any comments from them, ask them any questions, close public hearing, motion.
Technically,
Okay.
it's all the public hearing and including the staff report.
Staff report, okay.
And then when all the public has had a chance to speak, you close the public comment portion
Comment,
of
but
the
not our
public hearing.
deliberation, and that's
the-
still
Right.
part
The
of
public hearing includes the final vote.
final vote. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. Cool. Okay, then I guess what I will do is open the public hearing, and I would like to cede the floor to our planner.
Thank you, Rebecca. So this is a request for a conditional use permit. The reason for the request is to allow a carport to extend approximately 6 feet closer than the current setback allows into the front setback at 921 North Sligo Street. So the carports are, the actual setback in the R1 zone is 20 feet for structures. Carports are allowed to go within 10 feet of the front property line, as a matter of course. And then if you want to go closer than 10 feet to the front property line, a conditional use permit is required. The applicants here have requested the conditional use permit because they don't essentially have enough room in the 20-foot setback or 10-foot setback to build a good-sized carport that would cover their cars. So it will be approximately 6 feet from the front property line, which is the full reason for the conditional use permit. It does appear that they will meet all other setbacks and comply with other standards of the code as far as carports go. The reasons for a conditional use permit are varied and seem like overkill for a carport, but that it's compatible with adjacent existing uses, and other uses in the zoning district, that you need to see that they've incorporated design features sufficient to protect adjacent uses, that they demonstrate that the use is necessary and desirable, that adequate public services are available, that they have made provisions for proper maintenance of the building, and that the proposed conditional use shall conform to any adopted plans, hours of operations, etc. This meets the requirements of the land use code. There are design requirements in the land use code for carports. We've included those as conditions that would be required and reviewed at the building permit stage of review. I've attached agency comments for you. They're sort of along the lines, again, of things that will be covered at the building permit stage of review. We've added those also as suggested conditions to address those issues. Staff is recommending approval of the conditional use permit through the attached draft resolution. We're suggesting 4 conditions: that they meet all requirements of city providers, etc., that the appropriate construction drawings be approved by the building official and city engineer, and a building permit obtained prior to any construction on the site, that the carport roof can be constructed in a manner as to appear a part of the original construction of the principal structure. That's one of the requirements in the code. And that the materials used in construction of the accessory use be compatible with materials used in the principal use. That's all I've got for you. We have a draft resolution for your consideration, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Would you, as the applicant, like to speak? That's generally how I've done it in the past, is staff, then applicant, and then open up for questions to the applicant and then staff, or does that work for you, or would you rather have us do you have a preference?
Yeah, I
Nancy?
think it's appropriate to ask the applicant if they want to speak, and then
Okay.
have them go to the microphone. If they choose not to speak, that's fine, too. You can go directly to the public comment portion. Yeah.
Cool. Okay.
Turn it on where the green light shows up.
And then when we go, we'll just press it down for red. Okay. Okay. Thank you.
We're in the process right now of upgrading our home. We just had new windows put in, and we're having new siding. So if we're allowed to put the new carport in, it will be made with the same materials as we're having put on the house. We realize that right now we have a metal roof, and it has faded over the last 30 years. So we've decided, we've had a lot of problem with the water coming off too fast off of a metal roof. And we have that bentonite clay soil, and it has caused problems with soil expansion. So we have decided we're going to have the roof removed and put shingles on it, so the shingles on the house and the carport will be all brand new and matching. So the reason why we're having it done is, as you can see, we're getting older. We have a sloping driveway that gets very treacherous in the wintertime. He has fallen 4 times so far this year, twice yesterday. So if we can't get the carport, we're going to have to sell the house and move someplace else. So it's totally a matter of safety for us. So.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the applicant right now? Okay, thank you
I
very
just
much.
have a couple.
Go ahead.
And if you'll indulge me, please, for just a second. There are not a lot of carports in that neighborhood. Would that be a correct statement?
Our next door neighbor put one in last
Okay.
year or the year before.
Okay, I didn't see it on
Yeah, he just put
on
it in.
Google Maps.
I don't know if he got a permit for it or not, but
Right, right. And you said this will be done with the 3 sides will be open, I'm assuming both sides in the
Yes.
in the drive-in part.
yes,
Okay, and it'll be close, the back wall will be part of the house now?
it'll be attached to the house,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. And I think that's all I have, thank you.
Thank you.
Feel free to have a seat if you'd like. Thank you.
Thank you.
We might call you back up if there's any questions that arise, but, so would anybody like to discuss or have questions for staff? Do you have any questions for staff or any discussion? Okay. Would anyone like to entertain a motion?
I would like to make a motion to recommend that council approve the conditional use permit for a carport at this address with the 4 stated conditions as typed below.
Second.
Yes.
Let me turn that on. Scorts?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
McDaniel?
Yes.
Levy?
Yes. And that passes. Congratulations. That was like the fastest.
Are you building that yourself, sir?
You're free to leave. Wait a minute. I don't think you can do that. All right. You're welcome. Thank you. Okay, so we're going to move on to unfinished business, and I don't think we have any, do we? I mean, I always have something unfinished. And then, so no unfinished business. Okay, moving on to item 6, new business. So A is Planning and Zoning Commissioners will review a proposed Montezuma County development request for rezone from AR 35 to heavy industrial and subdivision. And this is the Hoke 2-lot minor subdivision, trying to do a 4-lot moderate subdivision. Alrighty, Planner Dosdale.
So this is simply a referral from the county for a proposed project. They do not, from what I understand, they have not yet scheduled a date for review. They moved it from what I had on here, which was February 9th. It is a request that is within the 1-mile area of influence. In fact, it's adjacent to city limits on 2 sides, making it eligible under statute for annexation. The proposal here, and I did write it, it was somewhat unclear, other than they are proposing the rezone. What's unclear is what they're proposing to do with it after, should the property be rezoned to heavy industrial. But they include reference to a shopping center, industrial storage yard, manufactured home plant, all on a septic system. The uses are adjacent to approved single-family and multi-family residential development in the city. I provided for you CDOT's comments, which are interesting. They expressed some concern and have requested a traffic study to consider the impact on the intersection of Alamosa Street, that's County Road L, and State Highway 145. At that point, I believe it's actually in city limits. The CDOT comments, read through those. They're interesting because they want the traffic study, which we have not seen yet. It does say that it's CDOT's opinion that they want to see if the traffic study shows that the highway intersection, whether it meets current standards, and to see if the intersection meets traffic signal warrants. And then CDOT suggested that the county work with the city to do a fair share for the cost of the signal. Anyway, I kind of, as far as other concerns, it does seem that this proposed level of urban development would be more appropriately developed in the city with city standards and, more importantly, city central sewer. However, the current agreements with the county do not allow us to require annexation. If the project does proceed in the county, consideration should definitely be given to the adjacent residential areas with the appropriate buffers, mitigation of noise, visual impacts, and connectivity where appropriate. So that date of Thursday is incorrect, that the County Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing. I imagine they've delayed it to get the traffic study. But at this point, we're just saying that we recommend that you guys should talk about this, state any concerns, and if you request, we will forward comments to the county.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, Lance?
Nancy and Rachel, yes. I need to, first of all, I'm going to ask, while I think the development might have merit, I'm very disturbed with the zoning designation of heavy industrial. And according to the county's planning and zoning, heavy industrial uses shall mean users engaged from the extracted raw materials or use engaged in storage of manufacturing processes that potentially involve hazardous conditions. Heavy industrial shall also mean those engaged in the operation, parking, and maintenance of heavy equipment, trucks, cleaning of equipment, or work processes involving solvents, solid waste, or sanitary waste, and transport terminals for mining and extracting industries, petrochemical industries, and rubber refining may be used in that zoning designation. So I, in good conscience, or in my mind, cannot vote to approve that, the application as far as the zoning goes, if that's what they insist. So I would like, if this is approved, that you put in the comments section to the County Planning and Zoning Commission that they certainly could have gotten away with less than severe zoning. For example, commercial use would be fine with the distribution of goods, provision of services and everything, and even light industrial would be okay because it's not hazardous material, but to zone that property in that area across the street from a subdivision, basically, I can in good conscience vote for that unless those comments are added that at least one commissioner doesn't agree with their zoning designation. Thank you.
Jim?
I just have one question. That the potential of signalization, they're talking about a stoplight there on Road L, and, okay, that seems, okay, thank you, that's all.
So it looks like there's an egress that they're planning on having on this proposed development area. For one, there's no subdivision plat that we're looking at. We're just looking at a sketch. So I don't know if they're planning on developing a road there, but if so, it does not look to be in kind of conformance with our master streets plan. And I would think that the lot alignment would need to be in conformance with our master street plan. before we could even sign off as a planning commission or direct the commissioner chair to sign off on the plat. So that's something that looks like an issue right there. And absolutely, it doesn't make sense to have heavy industrial next to residential estate. That could be some pretty negative impacts to very differing land uses that are adjacent to each other. And then the other piece is that this piece of property is going to have an impact on the city, and it looks like at least 50% of its boundary is directly contiguous with city limits. And it just doesn't quite make sense to have a subdivision any further right there on septic, right adjacent to at least 50% bordering the city. So it seems like if there's any kind of potential subdivision, should be going through a pre-annexation process with the city, since it's more than 50% adjacent.
I would like to add my comments with the other two, that I think heavy industrial is too much, and I would recommend that they not approve the heavy industrial for the reasons stated by the other two commissioners.
Sounds like we have some comments that we'd like to convey to the county. Is anybody opposed to kind of outlining all of those comments from the Planning and Zoning Commission from the city? Do we all kind of agree that that's okay? A good direction to draft? So that we would be talking about incompatible uses directly adjacent to each other, master streets plan, impact on city infrastructure while being more than 50% contiguous, and request consideration of a pre-annexation agreement for development, if that makes sense. And what else am I missing? Well, yeah, just incompatible uses. I mean, even, okay, heavy industrial is way too impactful for residential to be adjacent, especially residential on the buffers of town bordering agriculture. Thank you. Is that,
The city wants to pay first.
okay,
Yeah, it's a separate issue.
what else? You guys got any thoughts?
No, I'm taking notes. I have all of those. The last one I was talking about was the traffic light.
Yeah.
And whether the city wants to help pay for that. It's, yeah, not in the plan for the city to do that, so.
And I don't think that we would need to make that kind of a recommendation to the county,
No.
right? Okay.
But I think the county would have to approach, probably through the county manager to the city manager with a request separate and apart from the land use approval,
Right.
or prior to the land use approval if they felt it was a condition precedent. But I think for tonight's purposes,
Yeah.
you can structure a motion to recommend that the county not approve or deny the application as submitted based on,
Yeah.
Well,
The
we're just a
comments.
commenting agency.
Yeah.
So we don't really have approval, denial.
no, we recommend.
But we can still
that they
make a
not-
recommendation to the county, yeah,
Right.
yeah. But we can make a motion to make that recommendation
Yeah.
with the points and including the, the recommended traffic study based on CDOT comments too, maybe is something we should add to that. It seems like in a subdivision process, unless there was actually a site-specific development plan to go along with it, it's kind of hard to do traffic count prediction, because we're, it's storage units and we don't know what kind of retail, right? But that's their problem. Okay. So shall we try to reformulate this in a motion to direct staff to draft a recommendation that or draft a letter based on our recommendation that P&Z recommend denying it?
Well, you already have our suggestions, right? And
Right.
it's just a matter of suggesting, you just attach it to that. There's no formal motion or anything, is there? No. Just our suggestions, basically.
Yeah, I think if you're going to give a formal recommendation from the commission rather than individual commissioners, you would need to make a motion
As a group.
to that effect so that you have a vote. So,
Yeah.
an example might be a motion to recommend that the county deny the application based on the issues raised as recited by Nancy.
The following issues: one, heavy industrial zoning is not, and uses are not appropriate next to city limits, and especially residential designated property. Light, I don't know if you want to say this one, but it's a light industrial commercial zoning might be more appropriate. That the proposed development is not in conformance with the streets plan regarding road alignment and regarding road alignment, I'll check to see if that's that the development will impact city infrastructure. It was over, appears to be approximately 50% contiguous and therefore eligible for annexation. It is more appropriate to be annexed and developed in the city. That development on septic systems is not appropriate adjacent to the city limits and city sewer infrastructure. And you would, we were also discussing it, requesting an actual annexation rather than a pre-annexation agreement.
If they were to move ahead, I would think that they should put in infrastructure or place infrastructure that would be in accordance with our city engineers for future annexation, since they're right there for extension of,
But if they do move
Services.
forward, won't there be a site plan submitted to the county, and won't we see that at that point?
Yes, but
yeah, but
They
we're
say-
asking that they have a pre-annexation agreement with the town. We're requesting that.
And
So that
that,
doesn't have
yeah,
to do with
I'll
the site
add to that about developing more appropriately under city standards with connectivity and pedestrian, I mean, they won't do sidewalks or, so, with city standards. Okay, did I miss anything?
I am sorry how they're going to respond to the, how they're going to respond as far as entrance and exit from their property, how they're going to get city water, how can the, to me, it's incomplete and very poorly requested, for a lack of a better term. So that's, but I think there are a lot of issues that kind of violate their agreement with being so close to the city limits that, it's bad enough. Now, that's personal commentary. I'll not say that, but I think that I think it's very poorly written up, and I think that they could do a lot better job, and if they came back with a lesser designation as far as what's allowed, and if they came back with answers to streets, entrances, and this sort of thing, and I think that it needs to be redone, to be quite frank, to be quite honest with you.
It seems kind of ambiguous to ask for rezoning when you don't really know what you're using the property for. That's kind of what is stumping me. We might do this and we might do that. It seems premature.
One more thing, I think, with them saying what they intend to do, that's with the property, that makes no difference if it's zoned industrial heavy or industrial hazardous. It's the fact that if somebody comes in and buys that property, they could put in a refinery. I mean, to be completely honest and forthright, they probably wouldn't, but that opportunity is there, and if somebody has the money to do something like that, they could buy that property right up against the city limits, and basically that whole subdivision around that area and around the hospital there becomes a risk of exposure that's quite severe, in my opinion. So that's just my opinion.
So do you have a sense of the commission? Okay.
I have
Got it,
just-
and I'll draft a letter that summarizes your issues for the county.
Does anybody recall, or did anybody look at the Brandon's Gate annexation and subdivision that this one would be directly adjacent to? I'm just curious. Because I don't know if that was a PUD or not, but it seems like it's sort of more of a transect development piece where they're getting into wider lots, more agricultural, more rural setting, kind of as it's transitioning out of a more denser urban area. And I wasn't here in Cortez during that time, but I remember that there was a lot of thought process going into that PUD, or if it is a PUD, but that development, I'm pretty sure it is a PUD. And the idea was that was going to be some of the higher value real estate within the city limits.
I noted that the Brandon's Gate HOA was notified of this, and they don't seem to be here with any concerns.
Well, they wouldn't be notified of your meeting. They've been notified of the county's meeting. So it is zone PUD. I did not go into detail on that PUD, but I think if you'll make note, there are like townhomes up adjacent to this property line. And some have already been constructed right in there. There are larger lots also that are built and constructed with single-family homes that I don't know if you can say it's more rural, it's more of a cluster design in the development, but it's probably worse to put this hazardous, heavy industrial up against townhomes.
More,
Yeah.
even higher density, yeah. Okay, thank you. Do do you guys feel like you have clear direction, and was there anybody trying to formulate motion-y type language about that? After you recited all those points, would anybody like to make a motion that you make those points in a letter? That Planning Commission recommends denial. Did we already do that? Do we need to vote? Second? Did somebody make that motion? Not yet. Okay. Word salad, anyone?
I'm happy with where we're at.
You don't want to make a motion?
No, I think they have it, and that's all we need.
They have direction, but they don't have a motion. So do we want this to be uniform from planning and zoning as a commission, is sort of what I got the intention of our attorney requesting, suggesting.
Yeah, I think in order to give direction from the commission, rather than just individual commissioners, you would need to have a motion, a second, and a vote.
Thank you.
Now, let me get this straight. So would a motion to deny, that would do the, deny the motion, deny the subdivision, or deny our approval, and then the comments will be added? Is that's what we're looking
Yeah,
for in the
maybe you
motion?
could make a motion to recommend that the county deny the request with the reasons that we've previously discussed.
Okay, in that case, I move that we recommend to the county Planning and Zoning Commission that they deny this request and add our comments as they've come in, as far as under zoning, over zoning, however you want to look at it, the failure to comply with the master street plan, the failure to comply with entrances and exits, and any other issues that we might have.
I'll second.
So Nancy, were there 7 issues? Did you have 7 written down? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that was with 7. Yeah, but they were different. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to put that with the record. McDaniel?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
Scorts?
Yes.
Levy? I know, and at the end, do you mind if we note that Robert Remy's absent? 'Cause I should have
Yes, should
taken
I
that.
do that officially?
Yeah, but I want to take your vote.
Okay, yes.
Okay. And if we could just put for the record that I didn't call Robert's name at the start, and I should have, that he's absent tonight.
Oh, right. Yes, Robert Remy, chairperson, is absent today, and I'm acting as vice chair. Is that right? So, yeah, sorry about that. I forgot all about the roll call. It's not on the agenda. Where is it? Okay. Oops. All right. Thanks, guys. Okay, other items of business. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewing permits issued in December 2022 and January 2023, which is in our packets. Thank you very much. Cheryl is not here to be a presenter. So would anybody like to motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Scorts?
Yes.
Weiss?
Yes.
McDaniel?
Yes.
Levy?
I guess so.
All righty. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.